everybody, it's Jawan, your Indian Cine-MANIAC, with another very special 10ish-minute review. As you can see, I am not alone today. I have, from the old show, Drew Gould, who has joined me to talk about a film. Say hi, Drew.
Hi, Drew, and thank you for inviting me.
Well, thank you for accepting my invitation. So what I did a while back, I did a viewer choice poll, and I've got about 30 movies that everybody wants me to watch.
At least, yeah.
And I'm trying to watch like 3 or 4 a week. Well, I also wanted to watch some more current stuff. So I looked it up and I said, give me the top 10 best films of 2023, 2024. And this film came up, and I actually gave Drew a couple of choices, and he picked this one. So the film that Drew and I are going to discuss today is Kathal, the Prized Jackfruit Mystery, and it's from 2023. It was directed by, I'm never going to pronounce this right, Yashowardhan Mishra, and this was actually their directorial debut, this film. It stars Sanya Malhorta.
That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to tell you the vibe that this film gave me, too. It stars Sanya Malhorta, who played the lead character, and she's been in Jawan, that I've seen, Dangal, and Badhaai Ho. Anant Joshi, who was in 12th Fail that we recently saw, Vijay Raz, and Rajpal Yadav, who's got the best hairstyle I've ever seen.
He's very entertaining.
Yeah, he really is. And Ambrish Saxena. And so the first thing I did, Drew, because I have to be honest with you, I had no idea what a jackfruit was. So I looked it up, and here's the definition. Tropical tree fruit grown in Asia, Africa, and South America. It belongs to the same plant family as figs and mulberries. Under its thick, bumpy green rind is a stringy yellow flesh that you can eat raw or cooked in a variety of dishes. That, my friends, is a... Now, you guys know that, but I didn't know that. I don't know if you knew that, Drew. Did you know what a jackfruit was?
I did. I actually didn't know how watermelon gigantic they could get.
Oh, yeah.
I have had jackfruit before.
Oh, you have?
And I think it's fine. I didn't love it or hate it. I thought it was fine. It was like used as the base of other dishes.
Yeah.
Like you could have put a chicken there, you could have put soy there, you could put jackfruit there. So it was interesting. But I've never had it pickled, which according to the movie is dynamite.
That was the whole thing, right? They had to pickle them. And it was what did they call it? It was something Hong, wasn't it?
It was I think Uncle Hong variety of jackfruits from Malaysia.
Yeah. So okay, so now the way I do this, Drew, we go over the categories. I've given you the categories. The first one is the story.
Yes.
And to really give a synopsis of the story, a guy who happens to be a member of the Legislative Assembly, MLA Patera, has a tree with 2 giant jackfruits in it. And one morning he wakes up, they're gone. Somebody stole them. The police are called in, and they have to investigate who stole the jackfruits. Now, have I succinctly given the story?
Yeah, absolutely. You see all the I mean, it's a fruit movie, but you see all the seeds of where the story is going to go, and the setup is relatively simple, and I really like the way that you meet everybody and their various arrogances and exasperations and impatience and ridiculousness. You kind of meet everybody right at the beginning over this silly thing that most of the people can't acknowledge as silly.
What you know what was interesting? First of all, the vibe as I'm watching it, it's a very quirky movie. But it reminded me, even though I think it's a far better film, and I don't mean to insult this film, it reminded me a little of Fargo with the type of characters. Everyone was such a unique character, right? And this was definitely a character film. It had that feel to me. But it also, as I'm watching it and laughing at the silliness of it, and it was a very silly movie, but it had, they were making some very serious points about caste and like even the cop, the constable versus the inspector, how they're looked upon. So
how women are looked at, yeah.
The way women are looked at. So it had without ever being really overly preachy and still keeping the kind of quirky and silly vibe. It got those messages because she's a very, I mean, the lead character is an extremely strong character, right?
Yes.
Strong woman, didn't take any guff from anybody, kind of gave it back a little bit. So I like that. Even that, now it did, we talk about tonal shifts, right? And they didn't really pursue it as much as I thought they would, maybe because of how quirky the movie was, but the kidnapping of the girls, right?
Yes.
That it was one girl gets kidnapped that they're concerned about, but now they find out a lot of women have been kidnapped and they're just forgotten is basically kind of the thing I got.
Yes.
And it never went farther than that other than they found the one girl, right?
Right.
So that was,
and we don't know that all 43 of those girls were kidnapped and sold like the girl Amia
Right.
in this movie, but the fact that there are 43 girls that have disappeared in the past however many years and nobody cares.
Yeah,
and
they're not
police haven't
investigating.
investigated. That's the point.
Right.
And so at the end of the movie, that idea is addressed, I think, pretty well. So.
Right. So that was the only real, I mean, and that wasn't like a giant tonal shift, but that was kind of interesting.
Well, I think your Fargo comparison, I hadn't thought of that. I think that's a good one because that's a movie that it's comedy and crime, and it's good at both, and it's definitely darker comedy.
Yeah.
But sometimes we have been really whiplashed by the tonal shifts in some of these Indian films, and this definitely had tonal shifts. There's some stuff that's very silly, and a girl being kidnapped and trafficked, across the different towns is very serious. But I don't know, the going back and forth kind of worked for me better in this than it has in a bunch of other movies. It never got too dark or too serious, but it never pretended it wasn't about real things. Drishyam is about real things like that, and that is a mystery thriller, darker kind of movie. This movie isn't trying to do that, but it's more serious than the silliness would let you think, and that was a nice surprise.
Yeah, but it
You
never.
you gave me 5 movies to choose from.
Yeah.
And this one was about a stolen jackfruit and the police who investigated it. And I was like, well, that's clearly the one I'm going to go for. But I didn't really know what to expect.
JSI.
Yeah.
JSI. Because they did, what I liked about it was, they got a little bit serious at certain points, like even when their relationship was on the, on the outs, but they never lost the I don't want to say silliness because that's not right, but they never lost the tone of the film.
Yeah, it's
they
light.
they kept coming back to the lightness, which I really like, because sometimes those really stark tonal shifts are tough, right?
Yeah.
It's one movie for the first half, and it's a completely different movie the second half. This film never lost its identity while talking about serious subjects. That I did like.
Mm-hmm.
And it was also
it's not the way a lot of Western movies are made.
Right.
I mean, the big example that I can think of, because it was so jarring, are movies by Bong Joon-ho, who won the Oscar for Parasite. He did The Host, which is a movie about a monster that comes out of the river and steals a family's little girl. And that's horrifying and an incredible Spielberg-y monster scene. And then when they go to what might end up being her memorial service, the family is grieving so hard it ends up being this crazy slapstick scene where they're like rolling around on the ground and everybody's looking at them uncomfortably. And that was a really shocking shift. Or his movie Okja, which is basically against eating meat and factory farming, which is very serious, and it's like an animal in peril movie, so that gets me. Except Jake Gyllenhaal is in it. I don't know what he's doing. But what he's doing is super wacky and weird. And this movie didn't jar me like that. And some of the characters that were a certain way, like Mishra, like you're like, oh, he's just a jerk and he's sexist and he's not a very good cop. And I feel differently about him by the end of the movie.
Right.
Kind of like in Bahubali, the I can't remember his name, but the guy that is in the kingdom where his Bahubali's bride is, and he's pretends that he's doing all the stuff that Bahubali is doing, and he's taking credit. And at a certain point, this buffoon Bahubali's like, "Now's the time, stand up, be a man," and he does it.
Right.
And if you can pull off those
that's right.
things and believe both versions of the character, I think that's pretty good. And this movie does that with a few of them.
Yeah. Okay, so the things now, usually what I do, I talk about some highlights of it. For me, I love that reporter Anjan from MOBA News, whose tagline is "Brother from another mother." But what really stood out, and maybe you could tell me in the comment section, is that guy's real hair, or was he wearing I couldn't tell, and I was looking because I can't believe that's his real hair. Like he would walk around with that, but it made that character very funny. And even when she's got to arrest him at
Hmm.
the end.
Yep.
And first he's upset, but then he's like, "You're gonna make me a star." Thank you. So
Right. Yeah.
that was just so funny. This and they're filming everything with their iPhone. I
Yep.
just thought that was so funny. He was great. And
So you see, he's a character that could have been just annoying,
right.
and there was more to him in the way that he fit into the story. That when he shows up at the very end and he's in custody with the two armed guards, but he's having a great time.
Right.
And I'm on BBC and I'm on CNBC, and it's like you're excited for him.
And you're
So
rooting.
it's
Yeah,
nice.
that's right. You're rooting for him.
Yeah.
And yeah, he was fun because you're right. He could have been because in a lot of these Hindi films, they have like one really like a caricature, not a character.
Hmm.
And he
Hmm.
could have easily been that, especially with the
Yes.
look that he had, right?
Yes.
But he wasn't. He was a good character that you were rooting for. Let's see, what else did I like? That one, an interesting shot. I thought. Oh, there were two things actually. One was from a cinematography standpoint when they went through the sugarcane field. Do you remember
Yes.
that one? That was a
Hmm.
really cool shot. But the other thing I really liked was, and the way they tied it all together. The guy whose car gets stolen
Yeah.
and he keeps talking about it, and it ends up that's the car that was a
Yep.
kidnapping,
It was
and then
very
he
funny.
finally gets it back, and he's so happy, and then the body falls on the car
Yep.
and smashes
Yep.
it. I thought
Now,
that was
that wasn't my favorite falling out of nowhere ends the movie of the movies that we've seen. That's definitely super deluxe.
oh
But
yeah,
it was funny, and I was glad that the guy didn't die. Like those guys are
oh yeah,
human trafficking pieces of garbage, but
yeah.
they were having a food fight, and I said one of them's going over the wall, but nobody's dying, and that's fine. So
And that reminded me that scene on the roof reminded me of a silent movie.
oh yeah,
Yeah, and the
definitely.
music too was kind of like that tone and everything.
Yep.
So that was cool. And the other
Yep.
thing, the guy who had the vow of silence, and
Yep.
he hasn't talked in years, and she gets in there and gets him to talk. And what did he say? You assholes or something? He swore at them or something, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's just tired of his sons being morons, basically. You asked me to, think about the performances and stuff, and we can get to that in a
Yeah,
specific section if you want to. But he was great. He's in
yeah,
what, two scenes, and
yeah.
immediately before he started talking, made an impression on me.
Well, he was doing everything
And
with his face, right? Because he
right,
couldn't
and but
talk.
it was working in the story. It was working as the actor, and then when you knew he was going to just get tired of it and start talking.
Right.
But it just worked, and it's
Out of
nice when you see
frustration because his
yeah,
sons,
they
or
plan
whoever they
it.
were idiots.
Yeah, I think they're his three sons.
Yeah.
So that's 12 years of silent disappointment you're experiencing, and he just had enough, and that was really good.
So that's a couple of things that stood out for me. Anything else stand out for you that I didn't mention?
In the story, you
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I like that it's there's nothing really new in what it is. It's a mystery. It illuminates current issues and relationships in Indian society as a whole. There may be things in the movie that are more North India than not, and I don't pretend to get all of the references. But it's a movie about those things. So our hero is standing against those problems and everything. That is a kind of a formula, and that's not new, and that's fine because in this movie it's well done and
Yeah.
really satisfying. But it's also realistic. The movie doesn't end with the whole world has changed. The
Right.
movie ends with a cop is like, I'm going to get in trouble, but I made this decision. And it's the right decision, but you haven't really thought about it until she really lays it out. You're like, yes, that's what she did and why she did it.
Right.
And of course it's the right decision. And anybody that thinks it's the wrong decision is motivated by the wrong things, like the MLA, like
Right.
the other attorney. And that was just really satisfying storytelling. It was really nice.
So in the conclusion, I assume you watched the after credit scene, right?
Oh yeah. Well, I it's funny you say that because the movie ends with they both get promoted, all that stuff, and I was like, I totally forgot that I cared about who stole the jackfruit. I was like, you know what? I don't mind not knowing. I don't mind that being a classic MacGuffin. I don't mind because it's
That's
not as
so
important as
funny.
stealing a person. And then, of course, you find out what happened to the jackfruit, which is perfect
I
and
was.
funny.
What happened? Tell them what happened for those who
The
haven't
movie
seen it.
the movie goes to the directed by credits. It runs a couple of major credits, and then it cuts to what is essentially the monkeys are eating the two jackfruit on the roof of the MLA's house. So it really had no crime at all.
No
And
crime had been committed. Even though they
yeah,
taped off the tree, they had the police tape around the
right. They
tree.
taped off the tree, and then somebody blocked the camera. Was it on purpose? All
That's
that kind
right.
of stuff. The monkeys are annoying and crafty, and they stole your fruit, and that
You know,
sucks.
it's so
But
funny. I had the complete opposite reaction when they ended the movie and started the credits. I go, I can't believe they're not gonna tell us who stole the jackfruits. I can't believe this. And then I said, no, there's gonna be an after credit scene. There has to be. And sure enough,
yep,
it comes up. I
yep.
was like, oh my god, that's perfect.
Yeah,
So
it didn't matter to me, but it was really funny to find out.
it was a good payoff.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah. And okay, so what? How would you rate the story 1 to 5? 1 being worst, 5 being best.
I would give it
I
I
gotta
would
write
give it
these
a
down.
3.5 out of 5.
Okay.
That is, I mean, if that's the middle of the scale, like on IMDb or Letterboxd or something, you rate movies out of 10. There are movies that I think are perfectly fine movies. That's a 5 out of 10 or a 6 out of 10. That's not bad. That's a good movie. So 3.5 out of 5. It was just a movie that knew what it wanted to do and did it well. And if somebody said, "I want to watch an Indian movie," I haven't watched a lot of Indian movies. I actually think this is pretty accessible and familiar
And it's
and
short.
entertaining. And it's short,
It's
which
got a
is nice
short
too, an
runtime.
hour
Yeah.
55.
Yeah.
Because I tell people to watch RRR, and they're like, "Oh my God, it's 3 hours," and then I have to say things like, "Well, there's a natural break in the middle," and it's like blah blah. But I know when they watch it, if they like it, they're not going to stop anyway.
Well,
But
that's right.
this movie is just it's just a good story, well
Yeah.
told, and I like that.
All right. I'm going to give it a 3.
Okay.
I liked the story. I liked other things about it better. I thought the story was good. I thought it was
Hmm.
an interesting story, and the using the jackfruit to tell the story that they were trying to tell, I thought was great. Okay, now performances. What'd you think? I'll let you go first. What'd you think about the
Okay.
performance?
Well, what I was sort of hinting at before is that it's a crime thriller that goes back and forth between these different tones, not as extreme as some of the movies that we've watched, but definitely more on the lighter comedic side. But it's still about kidnapping and human trafficking and official corruption and abuse of power and all those things. I think that some of those individual characters have those kinds of tonal shifts, and I think they all work. Like everybody does a really nice job as actors, and the way that it's written, handling it going back and forth. And so I thought that was really satisfying. And there weren't any characters that I learned anything about or that they changed where I didn't believe it. Like Mishra, again, the guy with the car.
Yeah,
He's kind of a jerk, but then he's not a bad guy.
right.
And you feel at the end you feel like, oh, your car's busted. You finally found it. And I was mad that he fell asleep and missed the car driving by kind of thing, but I liked him better at the end of the movie than I did at the beginning. And there were a lot of memorable little roles, like the shopkeeper is my favorite
Yeah,
example. I
yeah.
only saw them in a scene or two, but I remembered it. So for performances, I thought it was a deeper bench than I would have expected. And I know there are other people in this movie that, I would recognize if I'd watched more movies, but I recognized the two leads and I was like, oh, they're both from movies that I liked and I
Yeah.
liked them in it and they delivered it. So,
Yeah, and I mean, listen, Mahim, Sanya Malhorta, Mahim. I mean, if she wasn't a strong, if she didn't give a strong performance, the movie doesn't work, right?
yeah,
She was
yep,
excellent. I mean, she was
I think so.
excellent, and
I think so.
the side characters, even the moronic 3 kidnappers who
Yep,
were just so stupid. What are you
yep,
doing? What are you doing? They were great. The shopkeeper was great. I love the reporter. There's something about that reporter I just
yeah,
loved. And
it's very funny.
I thought the performances were fantastic in this film, and it just worked with the tone of this
Hmm.
movie. Even in
Hmm.
when it got a little bit serious, they did that. The woman who was married, who was making the stuff for the husband, I thought she was funny
Oh, yeah.
because she always carried the big stick, when she
Yeah, she
was.
worked that baton, man.
Yeah. So I am going to give the performances a 4. That's how much I liked them. How about you?
I'm also going to give it a 4 out of 5. They
Ah,
were just
nice.
really pitched right and
Yeah.
satisfying. So I
Now,
enjoyed that.
okay, so now we go to the music. And again, one of the things, the last few, not this last one I watched, Rocky and Ronnie, which really was a musical.
Okay.
Um, I'm starting to enjoy the movies where they don't just do these production numbers out of whole cloth. Do you know what I mean? They just show
Yeah.
up and in this movie they didn't do that. There was really two songs. One was Roddy Roddy, which translates to Juice of Life, which is
Okay.
so appropriate. And the second song was Set Sail. And they were good. I mean, it wasn't like I was bowled over by them. For me, the incidental music I really liked because I thought
Yeah,
it fit well with the tone of the movie.
I agree.
That what I mean, it had its serious moments, right? But the most of the and it was I would call it playful music. It
Hmm.
just fit with it, and I really liked that. And so again, the actual musical numbers didn't stand out for me, but the incidental music I really liked. What are your
Yeah,
thoughts?
the songs didn't make an impression on me, good or bad. Like I was aware that someone was singing. I
Right.
didn't mind that it wasn't the whole cast breaking out in a song because that to me that if 100 people show up and start singing and dancing, it might be great, but it feels suddenly much bigger. And the
Right.
movie is smaller than that.
That's right.
And I also agree. I thought the score was really nice, especially, honestly, really, especially the food fight,
Yeah.
big brawl at the
Yeah.
end, because that could have been like really kind of corny, silly music, or it could have been too serious. It's like this is the end of the movie. They are, like policemen fighting criminals and stuff. But it wasn't too much of either, and that was a good sort of example of the way the movie struck that tone. So
Yeah.
I'd give the music. I'd give the music 2.5 out of 5 because
All right.
the songs didn't do anything for me,
Yeah.
but the score worked. But the score wasn't. Sometimes the score the way I watch movies, I can watch a movie and be totally absorbed and love what's happening and experiencing what the filmmaker wants me to experience. And at the same time, I'm like, oh, I want to listen to this music. This music is really good. Or how did they do that edit with that lens or all that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
And this music didn't make that kind of impression
Gotcha.
on me. But it didn't take me out of it. So two and a
Yeah.
half out of five seems fair.
No, that's fair. I'm going to give it a 3. I liked it. I again, I appreciated it. And it's funny you bring up that last scene. It's as I think about that scene, you notice the first thing that happens, she gets the gun knocked out of her hand. So they
Yep.
have to use everything else as a weapon other
Yep.
than a real weapon. And
Yep.
my one complaint about it is that actress has no idea how to handle a gun because she was waving it around like it was like it was a squirt gun. They do
Yep.
that in a lot of these movies where they don't know how to handle a gun. But that was funny because she got it knocked out of her hand right away. So now they're throwing plates and all kinds of
Yep.
stuff. So
Yep.
it was appropriate for this film. Okay,
I
good.
did. I did also notice. I didn't feel like she had the trigger discipline of a John Wick or
No,
something like that,
no.
where you're like, I don't want him to point it at me, but that guy knows what he's doing. But also, I mean, I have no idea, how much sidearm training and things like that kind of police force in that town would use. So she didn't take it out and not have confidence, but
Well,
she also gave a vibe of I'm not really
if
experienced with
that's an accurate portrayal, I would say they don't get any training.
Yeah, it was a little, but that could have also just been like the movie should have hired somebody to do that, but they figured nobody will care, and I saw that and don't care,
I
so
just
it's
quit
fine.
waving it around, will you?
Yeah,
Jeez Louise.
yeah,
Okay, and last thing overall. What now? You said your math, and sometimes the math doesn't work out. It's easy when you give them all fives or all fours. Okay, so
right.
you got 3.5 in the story, 4 for performance, 2.5 for music. Overall, you would rate this movie.
I'd give it a 3 out of 5.
Okay.
It's just a good, solid, entertaining movie. I was glad that I picked it. I really didn't know what to expect because that kind of like political like absurdity premise could go a lot of different ways. And the
Yeah.
movie could have gone a lot of other ways that would have also probably worked as well. But it chose its way, it stuck to it, and it was fun, and I enjoyed it. And so, a movie that does that, that's nice to me. That's 3 out of 5.
All right, I'm
Not
going to
everything
give it
can be Fury Road.
I'm I'm going to give it a 4, and one of the
Okay.
reasons I'm going to give it a 4 is the list of movies that these guys have been giving me. Most of them are pretty dark and pretty serious. So
Yeah,
when I get to watch something lighter, it is like a breath of fresh air. It's like a palate cleanser, and
I
this
believe
was
it.
definitely that.
Hmm.
As I'm watching it. I'm laughing to myself because some of them are so, and that I'm not criticizing those other movies
Yeah.
because I've really liked them, but it takes a toll on you. And
Oh
sometimes
yeah.
you want to watch a movie that, you don't go to bed thinking, oh my God, you know what I mean? So that's why I'm going to give it a 4. I really enjoyed it. And I really enjoyed her in this, having seen her kind of grow up from Dangle to what she's doing now.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I appreciated that. And it was also, we always talked about in the other show. Sometimes they take you to a place you haven't seen before. And
Yep.
this place they were in, I don't remember ever seeing anything like that little village and the guy's house with the tree in the front.
Hmm.
So I appreciated that too. So
Well,
okay,
I
good.
know I can't remember the town, Mahoba, whatever it is. That's a fictional town that it's set
MOBA,
in.
MOBA, is
Hoba,
that what it's
that's it.
called? Yeah.
I think so. That's a fictional town, but
Oh, okay.
it's in a real region of India. I think in Uttar Pradesh in North India, and it feels very authentic.
Yeah.
I mean, like I don't mind that it's not real.
Yeah.
When you show me Superman in Metropolis, I don't go, that's not a real city.
It
It
did feel
feels
real though, didn't it?
it
It did
feels
feel
real,
real.
like it's
Yeah.
populated by real
Yeah.
people. It's obviously inspired by real things. So
Yeah.
that was really nice. It's funny that you said that about the darker Indian movies, because I watched Monkey Man a few weeks ago, which was
Dev Patel, right?
Dev Patel's directorial debut,
Yeah.
which I thought was good. It is very, very violent. And you could call it like his taking a crack with his first film at like a John Wick type of thing. It's, vengeance and blood and all that kind of stuff. And it's well done, and he makes some interesting choices.
Is it
But when I
is it
saw
an Indian
Furiosa,
film? Wait, is it an Indian film?
it's in Indian English, and he had trouble getting it done because they were ready to go in India, and then COVID started. So he ended up in I can't another country. I'm sorry, I can't remember where he ended up. And then it was going to go right to Netflix, and then Jordan Peele said this needs to be a theatrical movie, and he and his company Monkey Paw got involved and ended up being a theatrical release, and it actually did pretty well. But that was very, very, very violent and bloody. Now I saw Furiosa this weekend,
Oh
the
my
new Mad
God.
Max movie. I'm not going to talk about it,
What
but I
you
am going
could
to talk
talk
about. Well, I'm going to
top
talk about a trailer that I saw,
okay.
because it's funny because I've been going to movies more in the past few months than we have since before COVID. So it's kind of fun. Like, which trailers are we going to see? Are we going to see Fall Guy? Are we going to see Furiosa? Are we going to see Quiet Place? All that kind of stuff. Um, the One of the trailers was an Indian movie that was the most incredibly violent Indian movie, it looks like, that I've ever seen. Like, there's stuff in Monkey Man. I was like, I don't know if they're going to be able to show this in India because it's so violent. I don't know that the censors will allow it. This movie,
Oh, you cut out. You cut out. Is it the cat? The cat. Drew's gonna get the sound back. Um, boy, what violent film could you have watched?
am I back?
Yeah, you're back. Yeah.
Okay, good. It's just called Kill, and I encourage you to look up
Kill.
the trailer. Kill, yeah,
Who's in
that
it? Do
was
you
the
know?
title. I didn't
And
recognize anybody because honestly, it's all on a train. It's dark and everybody's covered in blood.
Kill, I never
It
heard of it.
looks really, I don't know if it's good or not, but it just looks really crazy, violent, and intense, which, that might be fun.
That might be
But
one I need to see in the theater by
yeah,
myself.
I had never heard of it. And if we saw a trailer, there are quite a few Indian movies showing up at theaters around me, even in Fallston, Maryland, which is my local movie theater. They've had a title or two. So keep an eye
It's
out. I don't know exactly when it comes out, but that was a
I will
big
check that
trailer for a
out.
big movie.
I like
Yeah.
I've seen like I think I've seen 4 movies in the theater.
Oh, cool.
It was nice when there was an audience. I mean, I've been to them when there's one, I was the only one, but there
Sure.
was a couple where there was like 5 people. Jawan I saw with like half a house, and it was great because when there was a cameo, they were all going crazy. When there was
Sure.
dance numbers, they were going. It was like watching a movie in India. So I was like, this is cool.
Yeah,
So
that's fun.
I
I know
do want.
your brother got to see RRR in a Full House,
Oh, he did.
and I believe he told us that he did that because
Oh,
I got to see it when they re-released it before the Oscars, and there weren't a lot of people there. It was awesome. I loved it. I was
yeah.
thrilled that I could see it in Telugu, and it was like the sixth time I'd watched it or whatever. But these movies with a Full House, that's
Yeah, I
good
can't even
for
imagine.
almost any movie. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
those, whew.
Well, you know what the reality is, I think the last Full House I went to was Spider-Man, the last Spider-Man movie.
What is
Um,
that? No Way Home
No Way Home, I think it was
with
with
all
the
the
others.
extra Spider-Man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
that would have been fun.
that's the only one that I'm sad about that because we used to go to opening nights or films and it was always sold out and it's
Yeah,
electric,
yeah.
and movies are suffering, movie houses are suffering, the movies themselves because it's streaming. I mean, it's killed. People don't want to go to the movie theater, and there's nothing like going to a movie theater. Nothing.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
look, I mean, I'm not going to tell people they can't do what they want to do, but if you want to watch Lawrence of Arabia on your phone, I mean, you can. I love watching it at home. I have a 65-inch television. I have a good surround sound setup, but I've not missed the chance to see it in the theater.
yeah,
And that is, like nothing else. And some of the movies that I never saw because I wasn't born or I wasn't old enough to go to those movies, I'm glad I got to see, The Shining
yeah,
and Road Warrior and some of those movies that I was too young and would have been too afraid to watch anyway.
yeah.
And, I feel like after Tom Cruise saved the movie business with Top Gun Maverick, there's more stuff. And there's a bunch more movies coming out this summer that I'm like, yeah, I'm interested in that. I want to see that.
Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah, that should be fun.
That looks
The Quiet Place
hilarious.
prequel should be fun.
Yeah.
The Fall Guy was an absolute blast. I do not
I
know why
love the
people are
Fall
watching
Guy.
it. Yeah, so much
Yeah.
fun.
And
That was
it
one of those
bombed.
movies where I saw it with Kelly and we were looking at each other like, why isn't this full?
It bombed. I
It's
mean,
just fun. Yeah.
it bombed, and it bums me out because first of all, Ryan Gosling is incredibly likable,
Oh yeah.
and she was great too.
Yep.
It was just a good movie. But Rose loved it,
Yeah, it's
and we
fun.
don't always agree on films. Okay, Drew. I mean, painless, right? It really, I've changed my title a little bit. I call it a 10ish-minute review, but it's really a 15 to 20ish-minute review. And people seem to be okay with that because sometimes you got to go a little bit longer, especially when there's two people on it,
Yeah.
rather than just
Sometimes
me
if it's
talking.
38 minutes ish, whatever.
They'll love it, especially with you on. Hopefully, I can get the other guys on. They said they wanted to
I
do
hope
it,
so
so
too.
yeah,
I hope so
we'll
too.
do more of these because it's fun to have someone to talk to
Yeah, I
rather
bet.
than
No, look,
myself.
thank you for having me. We
You're
did this
welcome.
before with
Yeah,
Jolly Katu, and I really
yeah.
enjoyed that, and I think people enjoyed watching that. And this is a much lighter film, which is fine.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
There's no town destroying itself and symbolism of bulls being murdered and stuff, so that was nice.
And a giant pileup. No giant pileup at the end, too.
Right,
Remember that?
exactly,
But
exactly. Yeah, I remember that movie was vivid. I remember that
yeah,
movie, but I was thrilled to have you have me back. If you want to do it again, let me know. It
absolutely.
was a good time,
People still want
and
their
thank you.
Yippee-Ki-Yay fix. They missed the gang. So anytime that we can
That's what
get
they
it together.
saying. That's what
Yeah,
they're saying in the
I
comments.
know.
I appreciate their
Yeah.
continuing support.
Okay, well, listen, thank you again for joining us, everybody. Just so you know, audience out there, the next film I am going to be reviewing is 1958's Chalti Kanam Gadi. I saw the trailer for it. I got to be honest with you, it looks like a Marx Brothers movie.
Okay.
I'm dying to see what this is like. So stay tuned for that next one, okay? All right, everyone. Thanks for watching. And Drew, thanks again. And
Thank
everyone,
you.
we'll see you soon with another 10ish-minute review. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Bye bye.